In the old days, most Irish people would never interfere with a lone whitethorn bush, a sceach, and for the simple reason that the belief was that it was a fairy bush. There was a gang of men working on the roads. One of them told me this happened. He was there. There was a kink in the road, just at the edge of the bun, and they decided they'd straighten it. Himself and his brother, they showed up this particular morning on their bikes, and there were the other 7 men leaning on their shovels. And he said, "Boys, what's wrong? Huh? Why aren't you working?" "That." "What's that?" "That." And there in front of him, a lone whitethorn bush. And he said, "Boy, shift it, shift it." No one moved. And of course, everyone knew the reason why, including him. Lone whitethorn bush, fairy bush, and of course he, come on boys, you don't believe in the fairies, do you? Ha, ha, ha. He decided he'd make a joke of it, rather than order them. Nobody moved. Now, he was the kind of man, you see, they all knew each other, He didn't want to give orders to anybody, you know. Come on, lads, come on. And if the engineer comes out, who's going to get the blame if we haven't our work done? Me. So I shifted, boys. Nobody moved. So, at last, he had to do something, or else nobody would obey any orders. After all, he was the ganger. So he picked out, you, get the cross cut. Cut it. And remember, this was the 1950s. If they lost their work, their jobs, there was no other jobs to be got. They were all married men. The dole that time was only a pittance, not enough to support the family. So very reluctantly they got the cross cut and they started to cut. Now, the man that was telling me the story said there was silence. I was there, he said. We were all watching them, and they had no more than 2 pulls across the back of that bush taken when it started to bleed. Now, you could hear the silence, he says. And I said to him, couldn't it be just sap? The sap, he says. Do you think I don't know the difference between sap and blood? It ran down along the bush. Well, he said, you never saw 2 men to throw something from them like they threw that saw. It was a wonder somebody didn't get killed or cut. Well, after that, no one would go near that bush or touch it. And he said, if you don't believe me, I'll show it you. 'Tis still there. And he did. And 'tis still the very same to this day. You'll often see a big modern field, I've seen it, and there is the whitethorn bush in the middle of it. Very interesting. Even in our modern age they survive, and that belief survives. I'm glad it does.